Alright guys, TouchRibbit here back again today, and a couple of big news announcements that have come out over the last day or so. Firstly, Overactive Media, owners of the Toronto CoD team, seem to have shut down the Splyce organisation with immediate effect. Won't have as much impact on Call of Duty as it would have if this had have happened last year, and of course this is probably a consequence of moving into a franchise model, but we have some interesting things to discuss around that. And secondly, bigger news arguably for this upcoming CDL season, Crowder, formerly known as Replays, is going to be the coach of the Atlanta Call of Duty team. So we have a rumoured roster around that, and it makes a lot of sense, and this really could be a pretty damn big piece to the puzzle. And it was rumoured a few days ago, now it's been officially confirmed, so I'm sure the roster announcement will soon follow. So that's what we're going to get into today. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you are new as always. And just in case you missed it, here were the 8 current rumours that that we talked about yesterday. So these are the 8 rosters that have a full team that is rumoured. Not necessarily, none of these are announced yet. The only things that are announced are Wiskin, Scraps and Dylan on London, Crowder of course as Atlanta coach, and on Minnesota the trio of Assault, GodRx and Silly with Brian Saint as coach. So those are the only things that are announced so far. Apparently those other couple of rosters are also, you know, have got teams in the works. We just don't really know who those players are yet. We'll have a look at that in a second. You may notice here, of course, that there's 8 teams here. There's rumoured to be 12 teams in the league. There was rumoured at a time to be up to 16 teams, but I think that that's really not going to happen, because if you think about it, I'm pretty sure Activision are thinking, well, we can either have 12 teams or we can have 16. They don't want a number like a 13, 14, 15 teams, something like this. Makes it really awkward to try and get like playoffs. Like, how are you going to do it with 15 teams in the league? You're going to do an 8-team playoff still, or is there 14? If there's 14 teams, you're going to do a 17 playoffs, but then how do you make the bracket work? It's all awkward. 12 and 16, much nicer numbers. And if you know, and I'm sure the organizations that potentially want to invest, like Lee Zybin was rumoured to be linked to the United team around Houston, something like that. They're probably sitting there now thinking, well, all of these players have been locked up. Like, do we even want to pay 25 million for a spot when probably, you know, Envy played 25 million and then got this team, or Chicago paid 25 million and put together this team. And now we have no opportunity to even come in and bid for those players because the opportunity has passed. So I think it'll probably stick at 12, but yeah, as I say, there's 4 teams that aren't yet confirmed on this list, but I thought I'd at least mention that for you guys because I thought it was an interesting thing to consider. So here are the other rumours then. Florida is the following: Mork, Skies, Florida, Pristini, Florida, Frosty, Pristini and Havoc supposedly. Los Angeles team, the other one as additional to the Immortals one, isn't yet confirmed. Paris unsure. Toronto, another few players been mentioned, but nothing set in stone in that Minnesota team we just talked about. So moving onwards here, just thought I'd mention really quickly what Clayster says here. I wonder what kind of gentleman's agreements we will see this year, because he says the FAMAS has got to be nerfed. This thing is way too good. It's an interesting weapon, the FAMAS, in Modern Warfare, because it's very, very good up close, but at range it has too much recoil to really compete. So, but it's insanely good up close, especially if you get a headshot. I'm pretty sure it's like a 2-shot kill. Like if you hit a body and a headshot, it's insanely quick killing up close. But I wonder what sort of things we will see this year in regards to gentlemen's agreements, because I'm sure there might be a few, but will Activision allow it now with the actual franchise league? We'll have to see, won't we? Anyway, this is the news then regarding Overactive Media. I will leave this linked down below. Richard Lewis did an article on Deserto talking about this yesterday. Overactive Media, the parent company that owns esports brands Toronto Defire, Call of Duty Toronto, which is rumoured to be named the Toronto Ultra, Mad Lions and Splyce, has decided to shut down the Splyce part of the brand. Employees affected by the decision contacted Deserto. It will take place in December. So as I said at the beginning of the video, immediate effect. No, it's in December. Didn't read this properly. OAM came and told us we had the choice to stick around until December, or we could leave now with severance pay. So interesting. It's not clear how many staff this decision will affect, or what the future of Marty, the former CEO turned senior vice president of team operations of OAM, so Overactive Media, will be. And apparently he was extremely disappointed with the decision and would consider his options, because of course Splyce has kind of been his baby for many a year now, and they've had great success in Call of Duty. Now they're not going to be known as Splyce, so it's not quite the same, but obviously Splyce are a legendary fan for, you know, me especially, the fact that not we of course, but Splyce won the first ever European event on foreign soil is what I'm trying to say here. So Zero, Bance, Macan and Jurge, when they won Stage 1 playoffs in Infinite Warfare, that was of course under Splyce. They had so many good games against OpTic that year. So just to follow up here, reasons for this closure aren't entirely clear. The Splyce brand represented the oldest and therefore most storied in the portfolio. Personally, I think they're doing it because of taxes. So pretty interesting. They have 3 franchises in 3 of the biggest esports franchise leagues. Doing this enables them to drop teams that don't generate any value for them and lets them focus on LoL, Overwatch and Call of Duty. So whatever Splyce has operations in elsewhere, maybe Rocket League, I don't know if they do, but situations like that, they're probably going to drop those teams. Just to finish off here then, a pretty poignant close from Richard Lewis saying that the move came not long after Infinite Esports had hemorrhaged money and lost their longtime CEO Hector Rodriguez. The impending closure of Splyce seems to be another indicator that a new type of esports investor has little attachment to brands. So moving onwards, we have this, which was mentioned on Reddit by C. Rakar here, saying that Lucky and Metals followed the Toronto CEO Joey Brander. So interesting situation. There is rumours that they're going to be linked to this team. So if that is the case, then this may be a consideration for you guys. Thanks to Isaac Season for atting me in this tweet. Florida Call of Duty. Early last week, we officially locked in our starting 5. And these are rumoured to be, as we'll have a look at here, Morgs, Skies, Frosty, Pristini and Havoc is the rumour at the current time. And they've said, if we go back to this tweet right here, I'm very excited about this roster. That's their general manager, Ogre 2. I know it's going to surprise a lot of people. Apparently it's going to be a surprise, even though it might well not be, if it is in fact the rumored team. The young talent mixed with a few vets have insane potential. So let's have a look back at this. Young talent mixed with a few vets. Well, Frosty's obviously a veteran. Havoc, I guess, is a veteran. He's been around many years. Skies is much newer. Pristini's been around maybe 3 years. Morks has been around the last couple of years. So that could be related to this team. I think that does kind of make sense. So anyway, moving onwards, we have this that was rumoured, and this isn't really a rumour, it's just a little bit of fun I thought I'd poke. So Den says the following on his story here. I guess he's in Las Vegas here, it kind of looks like it. This steak, by the way, looks unbelievable. That's making me insanely hungry. But anyway, he just put a picture of Paris on. Rumoured, potentially, who knows, because he's not linked with any teams right now. The other Reciprocity guys have gone somewhere, or a few of them have gone somewhere, maybe a couple of them like Zed and that, potentially could be substitutes on that London team. Of course, Dylan and Wurskin have gone over to the London squad. So where exactly will Dens end up? Who knows? Paris potentially could have given him an offer. Who knows? But just a bit of fun I thought I'd poke. So here we go then. Atlanta CoD. Every team begins with a great leader. Please welcome 2019 Coach of the Year, James Crowder, as the new head coach for Atlanta Call of Duty. So this is official now. I'll play you guys the video. The announcement video is pretty good.
Replay's gonna go up and he puts it in. 34 seconds left to dial with a 1-point lead. On 3 in favor of denial. However, close enough to 20 seconds left. Replay and it's on another. It all comes down to Vicento here.
So the drive to be like the coach of the year after receiving that award and really like wanting to be a good coach is just how I am almost in anything I do in life, to be honest. I want to be the best at what I can do, and as a player, obviously wasn't the best player, but I've had some times in my career where I obviously was at the top holding the championship trophy. So I just feel like whatever you do in life is something that you should really go full force in, and when I got the coaching opportunity to do it, I went full force and made sure I can be the best person I can be for the team. To build a franchise team from scratch at a high caliber, you definitely need players with the talent. That's like basically the most important thing. I think if you can get the right players with the right mindsets that are talented, you can make a lot work. I think you saw a lot of teams last year with the right coaching staff and with the right talent really exceed last year. So I think that's basically the main thing you need. Some of the different approaches this year that I've probably changed from last is kind of how I coach in general. I really only had a few months to kind of get used to the coaching thing. It was my first real time having a head coach role. I've coached a very little bit before that, but it didn't really count in my opinion. So just kind of making sure like I'm managing the personalities on the team and making sure they're getting along and making sure they're all on the same page with one goal, and that's to win.
I am proud to be your head coach for Atlanta CoD.
So, of course, Replay's Crowder, former world champion back in the Advanced Warfare days, was pretty integral, I would say, to the success that 100 Thieves had last season. 100 Thieves were not the best team at the Pro League qualifier, the PLQ, back in January. Then they made that roster change. They brought in, so they got rid of Pharaoh. They brought in Priester and Crowder from FaZe Clan on loan. And the rumour has it that Priester and Crowder are still a duo in that they've gone over to Atlanta, and Priester also is going to be on this team. So it does make a lot of sense. This was rumoured a couple of days ago. This was rumoured more recently than the actual roster of 5. So it kind of makes sense. I like the way they're announcing this, going with the coach first, talking about what his expectations are with the players. So I really like this as a pickup. I think this could be crucial. Let's have a look at their roster here then. So this is their team. Simp, Abizi, Priester, Major Maniac, and Celium. It's the oldest rumored roster we have. So I'm guessing it's... There's a lot of likelihood behind it. Also, as I mentioned, probably the shortest roster ever assembled in CoD history. So, look, this is an insane team on paper in terms of what we're looking at here. We have Simp and Abizi, best SMG duo from the Black Ops 4 season. Priester, who was unbelievably good on 100 Thieves and also somehow managed to be underrated because he was kind of overshadowed by some monstrous performances on his team. Celium, who got better and better throughout the year towards the end. And Maniac, who was great at the start and didn't have the best end to the season, but still a great player. Now, all of these 5 players are effectively search and destroy stars, and they're all pretty young guys. I think Maniac is the oldest at maybe 21 or something like that. All the other guys like Simp's 18, Priester I think is like 19, 20, maybe 20, Abizi's I think 19, Celium's 18 as well, so insanely young team, and they don't have anyone on the team like a Claystor or a Crimsix like you're putting on Dallas here to help guide these younger players, which made it really questionable. I was looking at this team thinking, okay, well, in Search and Destroy, they are going to crush everyone they come across. It's going to be tough to argue against that. They'll just be playing Charles all day. They're playing like they're playing Charles all day. They'll be an incredibly hard team to beat in Search and Destroy. But in the respawns, maybe there's a little bit more questionable there. Is there going to be someone with a calming head to keep everyone cool? Now, I know that a couple of these guys have that in their character, especially Simp. I honestly can't praise this guy highly enough. He always very composed, very in-game leader-like, even back in Search and Destroy Charles when he was like 15. He was great at this stuff, and I'm sure he'll be great at this game as well. And of course, another thing to mention with this team is that we don't really have much experience watching these guys in the slower boots on the ground games, right? Simp hasn't played. I'm sure he'll be fantastic, but, you know, Abizi was very, very good in World War II. But apart from that, Celium we haven't really seen, even though he was great in Black Ops 4. Major Mania we haven't really seen. Priester was good in Infinite Warfare, pretty good in World War II, but nothing spectacular, right? So the question really is, can this team do it in a slower boots on the ground game? And I think that Crowder as a coach is a key element to that, and is probably a big factor that I'll be talking about when this actual team does get announced, if it does in fact get announced. So big announcement here, I think, for Atlanta, and I think it's going to be a very key factor for them going forwards. CDL Intel, of course, Kroenke, I'll leave him linked down below. So this was pretty interesting from Call of Duty Minnesota, showing who they're following. They're following Justin, Silly Fargo, Momo, Caster, Saint, and Assault. These are the people they follow that are Call of Duty related. Now, of course, Silly, Saint, and Assault are on their roster. Looney is not. Now, he still has in his bio here, professional Call of Duty player for Splyce. The rumour has it that he's still going to be on Toronto, but still somewhat interesting how Minnesota follows Looney, and it's not rumoured to be on his team. So either they were very interested in Looney as an individual player on the team. It would be quite interesting, because these guys before, like Silly and Assault, have had a guy like Aches on their team who tends to be like a leadership figure. Looney could probably do that, and maybe that's an avenue they were considering. It may not have worked out fully, but definitely interesting to see that could have been a possibility. I'm sure there were so many rosters going on behind the scenes this off-season that haven't come to fruition, and we'll probably find out more about those in the coming months. But anyway, in the few next weeks, we should get some proper announcements here. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like if you did, subscribe if you're new. As always, leave all your thoughts down below. I would greatly appreciate it. Thanks for watching as always, and I will see you next time.